Hi there, Alicia from Future Frequency here with your Cancer New Moon video. And wow, what a new moon it's going to be. It's from that chatty social energy of the last month. We're diving deep into the ocean. Well, maybe not so deep. We're going to stand on the shore. Cancer is a water sign and it's a cardinal water sign. So it's the most energetic and dynamic of the water signs. For me, it reminds me of the ocean's shore, that place where the tide moves in and out. Sometimes there's waves crashing, sometimes there's not. That place where so much change happens with water. And that's where the crab lives, which is the symbol of Cancer. The idea of Cancer, the aim of Cancer, is to be with that side of us that nurtures, that part of us that nourishes, that part of us that gestates, protects, connects with intimates and the people around us. Think about the crab or any of those animals that live along the shore. You know, those little creatures, limpets, I think they're called, in their hatted shell, all soft and squishy on the inside and that hard protection on the outside. Same with the crab. It's a place of where animals need to have that protection because it is so changeable. You know, 1 minute it can be totally dry and they need to lock in the moisture. Other times it can be crashing waves or gulls or other animals coming along trying to eat them. So the animals in that place really need protection. And I think about it, you know, even a woman gestating a baby is protecting them in her womb, in her uterus, you know, all that her body is most of that protection for that baby. And energetically, you know, think about the times past. We don't do it so much today, but for thousands of years, women used to go into confinement, a time where they protected the baby by being withdrawn, by being into themselves. So, you know, this is a time where we're being called to do all those things, where we need to, or are being asked to, withdraw, retreat, be vulnerable, be connected. Cancer's about the emotions. It's connected to the moon, the moods and the cycles of the planet, of the universe, and of ourselves, those things that change. And emotions is one of the biggest things that does. So how those things flow in and flow out of us, like the waves at the beach, or like the breath into our body. How is it that we ourselves can connect with that universal flow and change? Allow things in and allow things out. And also to have a look at that shell that we all have. I guess it's a time for us to examine, and Pluto's there to really help with this, to examine our shell, to think about what protections, what shields we have in place for ourselves, if they're needed, if they're not. And Pluto can really help us slough away all those things that are not necessary anymore. Please excuse the trucks in the background. We're having our road graded. So, you know, I really think about those. All this makes me think about boundaries and those boundaries that we have to have. You know, we can't walk around all open to everything in the world around us. We're not meant to. We're not designed to. That's why we've got a rib cage to protect that area of ourselves that the Cancer rules, all those soft organs. And yet the ribs are open and they are flexible and they allow things in and also to protect. And I guess we need to think about our boundaries and whether or not they allow for that too. You know, how flexible are your boundaries? Do you have enough boundaries? You know, if boundaries aren't enough, we let way too much in and we become overwhelmed and often overridden by those around us, and we don't really know ourselves anymore. Or there can be the opposite, where our boundaries are so strong, it's like the walls of a fort. Nothing can get into us. We live within our own world, but we have no connection to that around us. We're meant to. We were born into community, born into the world, born to be part of the human race, but also part of the planet. So do we cut ourselves off? Totally, because that also is not a healthy way to have our shell. So I'm going to do a meditation at the end of this tape, or the end of this video. to help you connect into that and to feel more about your boundaries and what they are. But another thing is, this new moon with Pluto, it's directly opposite Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto's up there breaking down. It is cutting away or dissolving what is not needed. It is like the phoenix from the ash, rising from the ashes. It's burning things away so that what is at core can really rise up. So, think about when you get into a new relationship, whether it's a friendship, a business partnership, or an intimate relationship. You don't really know the person. So how far do you trust them? We have our walls up a bit. We work out who they are, where they're coming from. Do their values align to ours? Do their principles align to ours? Are they going to do the same things that we're going to do? Are they somebody we want to spend time with? Are they somebody we want to really open up? Get right down, how many onions of the layer are you going to, layers of the onion even, are you going to peel off in front of that person? It's those kind of questions when we're getting to know somebody and how far we go with them that are that Cancer territory, where we can, how vulnerable can we be? Some people we can't be vulnerable with them at all. And others we can totally open our hearts to. So that's what I want you to be thinking about with this new moon, and setting intentions around being able to be vulnerable, about being able to be open, but not to drop all your walls at once, because that isn't safe either. So how do you allow flow into your life from the world around you, from the universe? And emotions is one of the big things of that. E being energy, motion, emotion being how energy flows. So if we cut ourselves off totally, there is no flow into our lives. But, you think about when a dam bursts, you can drown in the flood that comes through. So it is really to examine what is right for you and whether or not your boundaries are working. Are those walls keeping out totally, or are they letting in what you need? I'd say this is a month really to connect with family, or those you think of as family, and those that you can be vulnerable around. I know, those friends that I can really open my heart to are gems in my life, and I love spending time with them. It doesn't stop me from, those ones I hung out with last month with all the Gemini energy happening, and I had a lot of fun and laughs and giggles with. But yeah, it's a time to really go deep, go inwards, and be with the ones you love and can be intimate with, and set intentions around spending that time. And one of those people that you should love and be intimate with, and sorry, I shouldn't use the word should, but it's important to create that relationship with yourself as well. So retreat into that shell of yours. Happily spend time there and make time to be with that. Set intentions around doing that. And to be in that world of feelings. I'll never forget, a long time ago, I was in my early 20s and coming from another heartbroken relationship, and I was saying to a friend, I just want to cut off. I just don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to be vulnerable anymore. One of the things she advised me, this wise lady, was to feel the feelings. And this is like a catchphrase of the New Age movement these days. But I'd like you to think about what it really means to feel the feelings. One thing that comes up for me with this is to identify it, but not identify with it. So I remember moving around that time from thinking, oh, I'm such an angry person, or I'm such an emotional person, I don't want to be like that anymore, to, oh wow, today I'm feeling angry, or today there's anger moving through me, or today there's sadness or grief moving through me. If I can identify it but not identify with it, I don't become personally involved with it. I just register it, note that it's there, note that there's a part of me that is feeling that, and know that it will flow again, like those waves coming in and out, like that breath coming in and out. I don't have to be that anger. I can just allow that anger to flow through me. So the other thing that's going to happen with this month and with the full moon this month is when the full moon happens, it's going to be a pretty serious eclipse. Now, there is an eclipse happening with this new moon, but it's such a partial eclipse. I'm not sure how much change is going to come along. We can use it consciously if we wish to, especially with that Pluto opposition I was talking about earlier. So we can use it to correct our shell, to maybe cut away where we don't need, and then use the next couple of weeks to build up. However, when that full moon eclipse is going to happen, that is going to be a total lunar eclipse, and it's big stuff. Here in Australia, we are going to be able to see it. Most of the moon will be blocked out. I think it's total around 5:30 in the morning. So as the sun is setting in the western horizon, it will be, sorry, not the sun, the moon. As the moon is setting in that western horizon early in the morning, it's just before the sun rises, we will be able to see that the moon go dark. So it means that there's a shadow cast on our emotions. And it's like the planet is coming into that halfway space between the sun and the moon. And we can have the opportunity to find a balance between our head and our heart, between our rational mind and our emotional mind, between logic and intuition. So if we spend that first couple of weeks from now until the 28th, when it will happen, 27th in other parts of the world, being with that intuitive part of ourselves and letting go of the monkey mind and really exploring what that means, when that full moon eclipse happens, we will be able to understand ourselves more and what will drive us, and really able to use that energy more. So, you know, when that full moon happens, we're going to have the moon in Aquarius, which is detached, fairly neutral, and it isn't necessarily a very emotional moon anyway. It has way more logic. And then the sun's going to be in Leo, which is this passionate, driven, generous, magnanimous sign. And the sun's happy there in Leo. It is its own sign. So it's almost like our emotions are going to be drowned out in a way too. So I feel like it's important to spend the next couple of weeks really being in that intuitive, emotional, feeling space, so that we are able to bring that in consciously when that happens. Because I feel like what can happen is our passions and our logical mind, our rational mind, will take over, and our intuition can be kind of pushed out of the way. So if we can bring that in, then those changes that will happen then will be balanced. They will come from all of us. They will be aligned throughout us, and we'll be able to make decisions or meet that change consciously from a place that all parts of us are making decisions into, if that makes sense. So it's a pretty important month, and then there will be it still will be a partial solar eclipse, will be way more of an eclipse at the next new moon, which will be that Leo new moon next month in August. I think it's the 11th. So yeah, more on that to come next month. But what I'm inviting you to do now is to sit back and relax, and I'll take you through a meditation. And yeah, find a comfortable place and see if you can really feel into what those boundaries of you are, and how hard they are or how soft they are, and how much they're serving you, and how much they're allowing you to really feel the feelings and let them flow, and not be scared of anger, of sadness, of pain, of rage, they only become heated and they only become toxic when we try to bring them into ourselves and hold them, and then they block us. Think of yourself as a pipeline that allows things to pass through. And I think that we can use the wash of this energy to really clear out those inner pipelines and become the conduit of universal energy that we're meant to be. So I hope this month is a month of inner alignment, of retreat, of connection, of vulnerability, of being with those that nourish and nurture you, and that you will like to nourish and nurture yourself. Find the plans that you want to nourish and nurture, and give them that place of gestation, like a baby in a worm, or a chick in an egg. Give them that safety and that protection, but yet make that shell thin enough that it can break out, or offer a place of weakness that the baby or the birth can come through. So settle back and relax. Close your eyes. Take some deep breaths. Breathe in through your mouth and out through your mouth. And sigh it out. Breathe in and out. Again, in and out. One more time, in and out. And I want you to imagine that you are at the ocean, in that place where the ocean meets the shore. You can hear the waves of the ocean. Are they softly moving in, or are they crashing and pounding? Imagine that you are a shellfish or a crab, kind of animal that lives in the rock pools. Imagine that soft inner vulnerability. And think about the shell that you have created to protect it. What does that shell look like? What does it feel like? Is it weak and vulnerable? Feels like it may break at any second. Is it firm and strong and protective? Or is it hard and heavy, burdensome and blocking? Are there weak spots? How do you feel within this shell? Does this shell move for you? Is there freedom within it? Or do you need to thin it out, find room to move? Or maybe like the hermit crab, let go of this shell entirely and find a new one. What does the perfect shell look like for you? What does that place of security and protection look like? What kind of home is the perfect home for you? And who do you allow into that home? As I finish this part of the meditation, I invite you to continue dwelling in this space. And perhaps when you've finished, write down any intentions you may have for the month ahead around that shell and how you can change it. Wishing you much success.